What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome to the Nerdy Narrative. Today I will be going over my weekly reading wrap-up, just all of the things I read, what I'm still reading, and what I plan to read next. Let's kick this off with what I finished reading. I did finish The Inheritance of Orchidia Divina, and I ended up really enjoying it. This is one of those books I am so glad that I stuck with it because the ending really brought it all together. I finally understood why the author wrote Orchidia's family the way that she did in the beginning and how it really worked for the ending. If you'll remember, last week I mentioned that the main driving force that kept me going in this book was learning anything and everything I could about the character Orchidia Divina. I was so interested in her. I wanted to know more about her magic. I wanted to know where it came from, and the author gave me everything I wanted and more. However, this is one that, while I'm glad I finished it, I did like it. It's not one I can see myself rereading, so it'll be going in the unhaul stack. I also started and finished HellSans by Dundas. This book went on sale Tuesday, October the 11th, so it is available for purchase if you're interested. This is the arc that I got from Angry Robot Books. This was one I really thought I wasn't going to like. The whole time I was reading chapter 1, I was a little creeped out, which I know that sounds confusing because you guys know I love horror. On the other side of that, the main character, I didn't really like her very much, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to read about somebody that I took an active dislike to immediately. So once I finished chapter 1, it was kind of close to when I normally go to bed, so I checked to see how many pages were in chapter 2. It was very short, so I decided to go ahead and read that chapter. And then I one more chaptered chapter 3, and one more chaptered chapter 4, and one more chaptered chapter 5. Needless to say, the author completely ensnared me with chapter 2, and I sped through the rest of this book. It's a dystopian sci-fi thriller where HellSans is a typeface. Anytime you read it, or if you think in that typeface, you experience bliss, euphoria, a written way to get the Calgon take me away feeling, if you will. There are people who are allergic to this typeface, and the reverse happens when they see it or if they think in that typeface. It causes pain, torture. Your skin will literally crack and peel off. It is terrifying. But what's even more terrifying is the government in this society sees those people that are allergic to HellSans as subhuman. Once it's been determined that you're HSA, HellSans allergic, you are then taken outside the city to the ghetto where you are kept there away from everyone else. And from stage left, enter in our main character, Jane Ward. Jane Ward is the CEO of the company. Jane oversees a lot of programs that the company is involved in, one of those being INX. INXs are cyborgs. They're 8 inches, they look like little dolls, and their purpose is to keep you on track. They monitor your health, they let you know if you're dehydrated, you need to drink some water. They'll record things for you, they'll tell you what's happening on the news, they keep you on your schedule, get you to your meetings, make sure you're exercising, that sort of thing. When I met my first INX in chapter 1, I thought, okay, this thing is creepy. While I never did fully come to trust the INXs while I was reading this novel, I did actually come to like a few of them. For about the first 2/3 of reading this, I thought to myself, there's no way people would ever become comfortable with having these little jokers because everybody was supposed to have one. Sounds like INXs had replaced things such as driver's licenses and such because they were used to ID individuals. And then a particular thing happened, and once again I found myself thinking, there's no way our society would ever be okay with this. And then I thought, well now wait a minute. I thought the same thing about iPhones. We all carry those little mini computers everywhere, and I am convinced they track us. Y'all know I'm right. If you hadn't noticed it before, you're gonna notice it now that I've said something about it. But HellSans was amazing. I'll put the link to my written review for HellSans as well as The Inheritance of Orchidia Divina if you would like to see the book descriptions, read my written review for a little more information, all non-spoiler of course, as well as a link to where you can pick up your own copy of the book if you choose. Now let's talk about what I am still currently reading. I have one short story left in Fleshed Out, which is a body horror short short story collection by Rob Ulitsky. It's his debut release, and I actually messaged him to ask if this was literally the first thing he had ever written, because a lot of times something will be published by an author as their debut release, but it's not actually the first thing they've ever written. They may have written 8 other novels, but this was the first one they decided to publish. So when I was about 7 or 8 stories in, I reached out to Rob and I said, look, I know your website says this is your debut release. Surely you've written other things before. This is too good. This is too polished. This is not the sort of thing I usually see when an author publishes for the first time. And he assured me this was the first piece of fiction he's ever written. He does have some previous writing experience. He's written film scripts, which is a very stripped down type of writing. But he did tell me he's been working on this collection for a year and a half, really wanting to make it the best it could be. And with one short story left to read in that one, I can definitely say he accomplished that task. By the time this goes up, I will have finished the collection. I will have my written review, which I will have linked in the description box down below, so y'all can check that out. And I think I told y'all last week that the audiobook for The Hero of Ages came in from Libby, so I've been working on Brandon Sanderson's The Hero of Ages, which is the 3rd book in the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy. This one is my least favorite of the 3 books so far. I'm almost halfway through and I have been bored. There is an insane amount of setup happening that really could have and should have, in my opinion, been condensed. My friends Stacy and Rich assure me that things are about to take off based off something that happened this morning while I was reading it. I believe that's going to be the trigger that's really going to set things in motion, so I am desperately hoping to have a much better second half than the first half of this book. We will see. And then, of course, I'm still working on my reread of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Once again, I'm doing that using the illustrated edition with the illustrations provided by Jim Kay, and they are so good. There are less in this one than there was in the first one. I don't know if that's because this one is a little bit longer, so I'll have to test that theory on book 3 because each book gets a little bit fatter as we move through the series. But for those of you who have read the series and the Chamber of Secrets, you know there is a lot of spider activity, and I am like Ron Weasley. I do not like spiders. I don't know why Jim Kay felt the need to put a stinking spider or multiple spiders on every dang page in this book. I'm so ridiculous when I'm turning the pages because I don't even want to touch an illustration of a spider, y'all. That's just how bad it is. And then my book that I am currently working on, I have on my Kindle. That is The Trials of Ashmount by John Palladino. I actually started this one yesterday and blazed through the first 25% like it was nothing. It is deliciously grimdark. Like Harry Potter, it is a fantasy. There is a magical school, the University of Arcanical Arts, and we do have some students that are arriving, but where the similarities end. After passing their first trial, the new influx of students are basically told, just so y'all know, a lot of y'all are gonna die, so good luck. And thus far into the story, it's been multi-POV, with each chapter moving between the different characters. Now, I have no idea what the overarching plot is. I don't care. The characters are really intriguing and interesting. There is a lot going on. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue that has me in its grip. I'm eager to find out how this is all gonna add up and where it's going to lead. I do need to say, this is not a book for those new to grimdark or those who want to try a grimdark book to test it out. This one is for lovers of grimdark. This is probably the most grimdarkiest grimdark fantasy that I've read to date, and I'm loving it. What does that say about me? I don't know. Once I finish The Trials of Ashmount, my next read is going to be Sarah Gailey's The Echo Wife. This is the Wine and Crime Book Club's book pick of the month for October. This one is a little skinny sucker, so I imagine I'm going to get through it really quickly, and so then I will be picking up Stephen King's The Dead Zone. I've seen a lot of people say this is their favorite Stephen King novel, so I'm excited to read it. It's also prompt number 19 of the Stephen King readathon that is hosted by the Bookish Drummer, Andrews Wizardly Reads, and Feeney Reads. Being prompt 19, it is the one prompt that gets the most points for your team, so all of us are going to be reading it. A lot of people have already started and seem to be enjoying it, so I can't wait to experience it for the first time myself. This is one I've never read by him, so it'll be a first time through for me. Since I only have one short story left for Rob Ulitsky's Fleshed Out collection, that means I'll be starting a new one, and the one that I plan on diving into next, I'll be buddy reading with Kate from the Literary Apothecary, Carmen Maria Machado's collection, Her Body and Other Parties. Now, this one, I believe the stories cover a variety of different genres: magical realism, realism, fantasy, horror, suspense, psychological thrillers. So I'm excited to read those and experience her writing style for the first time. I have a lot of her stuff on my TBR from the last couple of years of hearing my friends talk about it. So I'm excited to finally experience that for myself. Of course, I'll be telling you guys all about it next week when we meet back here. Same time, same place. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all had a wonderful week. Enjoy your Friday. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.